how good it is to see you all and to see the room so full. Standing room only. I love it. However, there won't be a second performance tonight. So we can't take up any more slack, I think. I think I'm right to say, and I'm sure there are plenty of people here who can correct me, that this is the first time I have appeared at a convention of any kind in the Boston area. In Massachusetts. I guess. New England. Yes. Trenton count as New England? Yes, no. You know, Americans do not know geography.
We got Canadians here.
True. Well, it is a great pleasure to be here. And I am happy that I've arrived before you all come to a dead stop with winter. We don't understand winters like that. We were talking earlier this morning, and we had a light sprinkling of snow for one night in London last December, and the city shut down. Heathrow closed, City Airport closed, Gatwick closed, and you know what? The fun thing was. I see him. But unfortunately, this visit is literally a flying visit. I landed at about 6:30 last night to face an immigration queue that I would have said, by my own estimation, and I'm pretty good at this, was over a quarter of a mile long. You had straightened it out. But everyone was very friendly, and I'm happy to say the immigration were friendly. You know, there's a thing about certain professions. Professions that work unreasonable hours, like the middle of the night. Like police officers, like the military, like immigration. And so they're sitting at home at 4 in the morning, you know, floating candles and and that, as a resident alien, and get the laugh over with, that's what I am, a resident alien. It does help to make my passage into the United States pleasanter. You know, you meet some stern-faced immigration official, you know, suspicious of everyone. And then he looks up and says, "Hey, Captain!" How you doing, mate? And that's how it was last night. It was lovely. But I get on a plane at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I go back to the UK. I shall be in my own home by hopefully 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So it is in every respect a flying visit. So I know people are going to say to me, "So how was Boston?" I never saw Boston. I saw Framingham. I even saw somewhere called Nicot. I went for a walk this morning before coming here, and I just discovered that that was where I slept the night. So I was just answering a question before I came out here about how many of these appearances I do, and I said, I am not known as being a regular convention guy. Historically, going right back to the first season of Next Generation, I was aware of weekends that Michael and Marina and Brent and Jonathan Gates were taking off and coming back on Monday morning with these ridiculous stories of people who were so enthusiastic, and I said, I'm an actor. I do my job, and I don't have to go and stand in front of alleged fans. And also, I spent the whole of the first season frightened. I was just terrified that I wouldn't make it, that I would go on the set one day and I wouldn't know a line of dialogue or who I was or why I was there, because it had all happened so quickly, and it was the hardest job I've ever done. I once mixed mortar for a bricklayer, a champion bricklayer. I mean, a guy who actually took part in competitions. And he liked his mortar mixed by hand, not in a machine, not in a cement. So I was mixing cement for him by hand while he was laying bricks like this, And that was hard, but it wasn't as hard as Star Trek. But still, I didn't have many laughs mixing cement. And it was one of the characteristics quite early on of Next Generation that we had a good time. Once I had relaxed a little bit, and Jonathan and Brent and Lamar had persuaded me that we could do the work and have fun at the same time, something which I doubted until then, I began to relax and enjoy myself, and we all had a deal that each one of us would be responsible for one big laugh per day. That would be 7 or 8 big laughs. And then, in fact, there were many, many more. But even so, I didn't have the time available to go to conventions. We often worked into the early hours of Saturday morning because the week's work had to be finished. You could never carry anything over into Monday. But Monday had to start at 7 a.m. Camera started rolling. And I used to do my prep for the week on weekends, so I couldn't be going to Miami or Denver or wherever. But finally, I agreed to attend the convention the weekend after we had wrapped the season. And it was in Dallas. Or it could have been Denver. Or it could have been Detroit. Anywhere beginning with D. Washington? But that wasn't the first. And I remember I got on a plane early on a Saturday morning, and I flew to wherever this D town was. A car picked me up, it was all very nice and pleasant, and took me to the back door of this convention center or wherever we were, and I went inside. It was all very strange to me. I'm used to being backstage, but not in circumstances like that. And so we're hanging around, and they said to me, "You're on in 5 minutes." And I said, "Okay, that's great." And I said, Is there anybody out there? Did anybody come? Oh yeah, they said yeah. 2 people out there. And I was introduced and I walked on the stage, and in that instant I knew what it felt like to be Sting. And I told Sting this. I don't know what it feels like to look like Sting. That must be pretty nice, I would imagine. Yes, I think there were over 3,000 people. And I'd never seen or experienced anything like it. And I had a great time. But nevertheless, I didn't go out very often. maybe once, maybe twice a year. And if they were close at hand, Las Vegas or San Diego or LA, that was great. No traffic involved. But I have taken a decision about my workload at the moment, which is to shift the emphasis away from live theatre, which is where I've been for the last 6-7 years, to production, some of them overlapping. And I got tired. In fact, my family made a kind of intervention. They looked at the schedule I had prepared for myself until next April and said, "You can't do this. It's too much." And when your children say that to you, I think it's coming from a good place. And I listened to them, and I pulled out 2 projects, and a lot of people were very cross with me. But I gave them 6 months' notice of this, and so I'm in the middle now of a 4-month hiatus. My next project doesn't start until late January, and it's just a little personal passion project in London. And my voiceover work continues. Actually, if anything, there's rather too much of it. Very busy American Dad and occasionally Family Guy, and narrations and National Car Rental. You're lucky. You're very lucky in that here in the United States, you're not getting moneysupermarket.com. You're so many supermarkets! You don't even know. Well, it's fame of a kind. And so I have made a decision to focus once again on film and television and see if it is possible to, I was going to say, revive or resurrect my film and television career, because other than filming Macbeth and Hamlet, which were both stage productions, yeah, they were both terrific movies. I'm very proud to be part of them. They were films. They weren't films of the stage production, but based on a stage production. I have not seen a film camera since I wrapped X-Men 3: The Last Stand. And so I'm ready to go back to that world. Not that I ever had a film career. I've had a franchise career. 7 movies, 4 Star Trek, 3 X-Men movies, and other movies that never got released, that went straight to video, occasionally got seen on aeroplanes. So this is a deliberate, an agreement I've made with my agent in London, my agent in Los Angeles, to specifically make myself available, accept no more theater work, and see what comes of it. So it's a bit of a gamble, but I've gambled in that respect all my life. If you don't take risks about things, you never know what might be possible. But that has given me the opportunity to book myself for conventions, and Gary and I have just been sitting back there going through my iCal and agenda, and I guess we've got a dozen or so appearances with Gary and a colleague of his, dotted through the whole of next year. This will be my last appearance, I think I'm right, until April. Yeah, yeah, I know. Nothing next month, and then nothing January, and then I start work on my London project. We are beginning to increasingly heavily pencil in a theatre project for Broadway in the spring of 2013. By which time I will know if I have a movie career or not. And that will be very, very exciting, and I can't tell you what it is, but you are sure to hear about it. And that's me. That's where I am at the moment.
been a great season for fruit. I have 24 dozen cases of my own apple juice, and I have a dozen cases of my own pear juice. And this year I made, and I'm not talking about supervised or, you know, otherwise washed up the spoons afterwards, but I made 16 pounds of damson jam. That is fact. And there was jam on the ceiling and have you made jam? You know, it's messy. But it's really, really good. If I thought I would have brought you all or a spoonful. But I'm thinking, you know, it works out. It works for Paul Newman. Yeah, we had a great cherry season. A lot of beautiful cherries. You've got to get them before the wasps or the birds do, and they're like only ripe for 24 hours, and they have a habit of getting up before you do. Pears, beautiful. Oh yes, I'm not a cook, but following instructions, I made, again, all alone, unassisted, the most delicious pear tart. So these are new little skills that I'm beginning with. I'm not known for my culinary efforts. All I need is a microwave. So that's just about all I have to tell you. So why don't we throw this open to questions now? And I think the first hand up is this gentleman here.
Thank you. I have an actor question. In the Star Trek Next Generation episode, Inner Light, there were two beats that I'd like to ask you what your, I don't know the right term, what you accessed, what your motivation was. First was when you, as was entertainment, you realized, oh, the floor was coming to find me. And then the next was when Picard wakes up on the bridge realizing I'm back on the Enterprise after living a life. What were you thinking that made those two instincts so gripping for us viewers?
Thank you. First of all, I have to preface this by saying that the events you're talking about were 20 years ago.
But they were momentous.
Thank you. And as someone who struggles to remember breakfast time, you know, it's, and what you've got to remember is the speed at which we worked. We were shooting 8 to 10 pages a day. Now, on a feature film, you know, if you're the first assistant director, you usually reckon to try to get in 2.5 pages a day. That's good work on a feature film. Oh, it's Poltergeist. So, frankly, I don't remember what my inner motivations or thoughts were then, and I have not seen that episode for a long time. But I can tell you, without any uncertainty, that that happens to be my favorite episode of the 178. There's some disputation about the exact number, but I think it's 178. For a number of reasons. It was a brilliant script, and you know it was the only spec script we ever filmed. That script was sent in. It's the only one that we ever made. And it was brilliant right off from the starting gun. And I don't think that person ever wrote anything for us again. But it was a wonderful script. And I what you've got to understand is I give long-winded answers. So your arm will get tired long before I there were problems associated with it to do with what was going on the set. There was some very difficult situations. But we found a way to resolve them, myself as the leading actor and our director of photography. It gave me a chance to get out of my uniform and into some real clothes and to lead a different kind of life, and indeed to become someone other than John. It also had my son, playing my son in the episode. And and as we speak, my son is in a dressing room at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, Stratford-on-Avon, getting ready to do his second performance with the Royal Shakespeare Company tonight. I left that same building just 6 weeks ago, having completed a run of Merchant of Venice. So it is with enormous pride that I see my son, in a sense, truly walking in my footsteps, because he knew that theatre. He's now 40, I don't know, he's 40-something, I don't like to think about it. But I remember when he was 3 or 4 years old, I used to bring him to rehearsals, because he was a really, really good kid. And I would sit him in a corner of the rehearsal room with some toys or books or something. And sometimes he would just sit and watch what we were doing, and when I look back and think some of the things he saw happening in that rehearsal room, and here he is now, you know, a member of the company. So it was a lovely experience for the most part doing that, and I am happy that so many people left it. All right, sir, you've been patient.
Actually,
and then this is when I find out that actually you've got your arm in a splint.
I do a good John Travolta. He stole my question, but I'll keep this one short. Being one of the most recognized entertainers and beloved people in the world, have you found moments that you found it's overwhelming that so many people know you and adore you and follow you? Do you find some difficulty with just having that recognition all the time?
Sometimes, mostly not. Sometimes I would love to be totally anonymous.
Well,
I would love to be as I was 24 hours before the pilot episode of Next Generation. I'll tell you a little story. When I had been doing a play in London at the Young Vic, which is where I'm returning in January. It's a wonderful, small, beautiful little modern theatre in Waterloo on the south bank of London. I guess it's a fringe theatre, it's not West End. And I'm so happy to be going back because I was working there, or I had just finished working there and was negotiating to take the production into the West End when I was offered staff as a job. And then I had to choose, do I go to the West End for this or do I go to Hollywood? But I remember a meeting with the producers because there were only 4 of us in this play, and one of the great delights of what's coming up is that one of the other 3 actors who were in that play are going to be with me in this play in January 2000. A wonderful actor called Matthew Marsh. And we're sitting around the room discussing actresses who should play the other leading female role because my leading actress was ill, didn't want to transfer. And at one point the producer looked at the 3 of us who were left in the production, and he said, look, I don't care who you cast in this role, but we have got to have one person in this production that people have heard of. it really hurt. But he was right. If you didn't go to the Royal Shakespeare Company or watch things like I, Claudius or Smiley's People, you had no idea who I was.
And, one last thing, thanks for your work on Coronation Street back in the 60s.
Well, thank you. That was my first television appearance.
I know that, just over about it.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Right at the back, standing up.
Hi.
Hi.
So you often play a lot, you play roles where you are an advisor to younger people, and I'm about to graduate college at the end of this year, and my friends are very, very jealous that I get to come and see you today, and I'm wondering if you had one piece of advice that you were to give someone who is about to go out into a very, very complicated world, some would say broken, what that advice would be.
What are you graduating in?
I'm graduating from College of the Atlantic, and everyone majors in human ecology.
Well, we need you. All right, I am Chancellor of a university in England. It's one of the little offshoots of my rather diverse life. And I was there all last week. We have 2 big degree weeks in the life of the university, one in July, one in November. And so I must have handed out about 800 degrees last week, which meant I shook hands with 800 students and congratulated them. And then it's always up to the Chancellor at the end of the ceremony to give an address. And I try to change it and freshen it up, it's only for the faculty who have listened. I've been listening to this speech for 7 years. And when I always come to closing remarks, and I preface them by saying that these are remarks that I always make when I work with acting students, theatre students. And in fact, at my university we do have a theatre department, and I did conduct a masterclass there, a 2-hour masterclass on Thursday morning. And I said this to them, which is that in graduating, you are not just a product of your background, your upbringing, or your education. All these things have influenced who you are. But there is something which defines you, that makes you unique, that makes your application to your studies unique, your relationship with the college you've been in unique, unlike anyone else. That there are no carbon copies of you. You haven't been rubber stamped yet. That won't happen if you don't let it happen. You let it happen. Too many people will be ready to say, yeah, we know who you are. There are no clones of you anywhere in the world. You're absolutely original. And that quality that makes you original, that makes you unique, you have to feel good about it. You've got to have your own little celebration of that. You've got to know that it is perhaps the most important quality you have. Because if you pay attention to that uniqueness, it means that whatever you do, your work will be original, exciting, challenging, and sometimes maybe even risky. But if you don't take risks, you never know what I just said. I'm saying you never know what might have happened. And in an age when a kind of conformity is increasingly becoming apparent in society, we are often not encouraged enough to know that we are truly special. I didn't know it for decades. I always thought somebody else knew better than I did. And I wanted to try to become the person they thought I was or they wanted me to be. It's no good. It's no good at all. And when I was talking to these drama students, working with them on Thursday morning, one thing that always comes up is, tell us about auditioning. How do you audition? How do you interview? It's so frightening. And I said, there's one thing that you have to remember about going in to do an audition. And I speak of this as a one-time producer, director, who has sat behind the table watching actors come through the door to audition. When you're sitting back here and you're seeing actor after actor come through, you want the next person to be the best person that you've ever seen act in your life. You want that person to be wonderful. We're not sitting here, as many young actors think, just waiting to judge someone, or put them down, or think they're rubbish. We want you to be fabulous, but we can forget that. And it's connected to this celebration of your uniqueness. So those are the things, as you now start this exciting period of your life. And by the way, I don't think we live in a broken society. It's a phrase that was created in the UK, I believe. This is not a broken society. It's going through a really, really difficult time. And there are people who run my country, and at times your country, who don't always have people's best interests at heart. There are too many fractions of self-interest. And so in the UK at the moment we find, and I'm not speaking out of turn because I say this everywhere whenever I can, what we're seeing there is not just a government's response to a financial crisis. We are seeing an agenda which is undermining the welfare state in England, our fabulous health service, whatever you've been told about it. It is, and it's not as good as New Zealand. And all of the benefits that society give us, well, they are, this coalition government is slowly unpicking all of that, unraveling it in the name of saving economy. We've got to do cutbacks. And think to yourself, please.
Thank you.
That's all.
I've been a big fan of Star Trek ever since the beginning of the first Star Trek with my mother, who passed away and he's looking at what she really is looking for. When I saw First Contact, what was it like working with William Shatner?
I know what you meant.
What was it like working with him?
It's funny, you know, Bill's name always gets a laugh. I'm envious of him. Well, I would say right up front, Bill is a good friend. And over the years, I have come to really like him. And indeed admire him. Has any actor ever recreated himself as many times so successfully? Well, it was kind of awkward, because Bill was not too pleased when Next Generation came on the air, as were a number of the original cast. And he said some kind of negative thing about reviving the show. So none of us felt too warm towards him. And I heard him say once on television when asked, and he said, no, I've never seen it, I don't want it. That's kind of unnecessary. And then I met him when the Roddenberry building at Paramount was being inaugurated, open, whatever you do to a building. And I found I liked it. And but the breakthrough came when we went to Las Vegas to promote Generations. They have this week-long thing in which the studios bring their stars in and their directors in. You're going to be next, by the way. So you can put your arm down. You're going to go next. And, I hope you've got a question. And the director was there, and Rick Berman, our producer, was there, and Bill, and me. And for some reason, I had to be back in Los Angeles that evening. I don't know why. Maybe I had a really early call the next morning. But anyway, Paramount made available to me the Paramount jet to fly me back to Las Vegas. Well, Bill got to hear about this. And while we were doing the panel, sitting in front of all these journalists, I suddenly realized he was at my side. He said, "Listen, I've got to be back in Los Angeles really urgently this evening. Can I share your flight?" And I said, "It's me in an empty," and we're not talking about a little Learjet, we're talking about a 737. And so I said, "Yes, fine," and we boarded the plane together, and it turned out there was only one meal. So we sat down in this luxury and shared my food. And, you know, the journey was what, 50 minutes? That's all it is. But in those 50 minutes, I discovered the real Bill Shannon. And he has been a dear friend since that time. But, you know, it was kind of exciting working with him. You know, the man is a legend. And when we did that first scene, when they first meet, when I think Bill is chopping wood or something, it was, you know, all of a sudden that morning, the set was crowded with people who had come to see Captain Kirk in the flesh. You know? And we did dream up an idea. Do you remember there's a scene in the kitchen? Yeah. Yep. Well, while we were shooting that scene, this was my idea. I said to Bill, you know, if things don't work out for the two of us, you know, if we, careers go pear-shaped, I've got an idea. Cooking show for a television. I said, what about this? Cook with the captain. Bill cooks. I said, you will cook, and I will do all the skivvy work. I'll do the washing up and the getting down, you know, and you'll say, how is that? And I'll give you a card.
He says he came up with the idea.
He does? No. That is an authentic Patrick Stewart. You know, I said, and while you're cooking and I do something, we'll talk about Star Trek. We'll talk about what it meant to you, what it meant to me. We'll talk about politics. We'll talk about anything, and occasionally we'll have guests. Or we'll cook something and then we'll serve it at a small dinner party. Who knows? It's a great idea. Well, luckily, neither of our careers have. Young man, you're on.
Excuse me, Patrick Stewart, but what do you like most
Well, I'll tell you, what's your name? Christian. I wrote yesterday at the very end of a contribution I was making to a book. that somebody is writing and publishing about ensemble, 20th century ensemble European theatre. Yeah, it sounds really And I said at the end of this, because I decided to give a non-academic approach and to make it very actory. And I said, I often think that if, you know, the meteorite couldn't be deflected before it hit Earth, or if a tsunami came to Warwickshire, as they do, you know, or if, for whatever reason, the world was to end at midnight tonight, I would have been so happy, so content and at peace with myself that I had spent so much of my 71 years, well, they said, 54 years in the company of actors, because they're fabulous. And they get a really bad press, sometimes deservedly so, because there are one or two among us who, you know, are kind of iffy. But they are the most generous, the most affectionate, the most respectful, the most inspiring group of people I know. And I think that's one of the major things in my life that I am grateful for. But then there are my kids and my 4 grandchildren. And the people who have shared my personal life with me over the years that make me feel so good. And furthermore, my soccer team won. But you're hearing it now. Not only are we in the automatic promotion spots to go up from Division 1 up to the championship, but today was our 43rd consecutive league game without defeat. The record has been held by Arsenal Football Club, who you have heard of, since the 1930s. So we need 6 more games without a defeat to equal Arsenal's record. What will be charming about that is that there are only 2 clubs in the whole history of the Football League in England that have won 3 consecutive championships back-to-back. One is Arsenal, and one is Huddersfield Town. So if we're able to do that in the next 6 more games at the end of November, probably just about after Christmas, the Boxing Day weekend when there will be 2 matches, then we will truly be in the history books. And that makes me feel very good, because I am also president of the Academy of Huddersfield Town. It can't be that tough. 7:30. Okay. Oh yes, my dear, waving away. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I just want to say, I know you talked about Bill Shepard being a legend. I think I'm looking at one right here as well. My question is more of a personal one. I love you. And I am dying now because I'm talking to you. But Star Trek was more about swashbuckling when it first came out. And I was really happy to see someone like the captain, Picard, of all people, have class and refinement. That was a whole new thing in Star Trek, so I was really happy to see that. But I noticed in the change to the films that you got pretty buff. You actually had some muscles going there and insurrection. And I wanted to know what kind of workout you did to change the stage. I wouldn't keep that bed. So I just want to know, it must have been really rigorous, and I just want to know what you did to prepare for that.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Don't die. lot more good things ahead. Yes, I have on 2 or 3 occasions when certain roles have come up for me, felt it necessary to really get myself in good shape. And I'm lucky, it's like suntans. I tan very easily and I don't burn. And I mean, I just come back from Mexico, which is why I look so incredible. I've been climbing pyramids for 12 days. If you have not been to the Yucatan and Quintana Roo, get on a plane and get down there, because those places incredible. Went to Tulum, went to Koba, went to Chichen Itza, went to Ekbalam, went to Uxmal, and Uxmal is mine. And fabulous people, wonderful, wonderful. So, and it's right here, next door. You can drive there. Pardon? We swam in, my partner became obsessed with them. The, what are they called? The underground pools. What are they called? Cenote! Thank you. Well, I only swam in one because I found them creepy. Really creepy. And we went to one and even she wouldn't go in because it was so creepy. Unlike the first one, the water was not clear and there were big blackfish in it. You couldn't see the bottom and it just didn't feel cool. But we're going to go back and find some more. They're everywhere. But that society, amazing. Must have been pretty harsh, but wow, talk about creativity and imagination. And then there are just these piles of rubble in the jungle. And what was so great, particularly at, I'm trying to think where we were, I mean, it could have been Ekbalam. You see why you've got to get to the top of the pyramid. Because when you stand on the top of the pyramid and look over that completely flat jungle, the only thing that's standing up 25 miles away is another pyramid! That's all you can see, and you can say, yeah, that's Chichen Itza. And that probably has to be Koba over there. You can see the top. Anyway, enough of that. Get 5 minutes. Thank you very much, Gary. I didn't fully answer your question. I'm saying I tan easily, and I can I can bulk up quickly too, with right diet. I don't do any of the drug stuff. I don't do any of that at all. But I usually work out 3 to 4 mornings a week with a trainer, do a lot of weights. But combined with things like speed bag and skipping and all that good stuff, and I still do today. I mean, I have a little gym, and Laurence Olivier once said, if you want to be a serious actor, you have to be as fit as an athlete.
I only have because I couldn't see your arms.
Shameless. If any of you have not yet seen the film Bridesmaids, see it. I saw it on the plane. It's brilliant. And there are not many brilliant comedies out there. Okay. Are there any more young people? Because this young man here is gone. You're get off. Yes, you sir.
Did you ever keep anything from the Star Trek show or film, any props, anything like that?
You mean, did I steal anything? Actually, no. Actually, no, that's not true. I took the very last communicator that I wore, because they were, they were held on with Velcro. That the wardrobe used to do. The moment that we said, okay, Rose, that's a wrap, they would take the people wanted them. But I took mine after the last day shooting, and I know exactly where it is. I still got it. I stole a link of the chain of the bridge that collapsed when Captain Kirk died. But I appeared on a talk show. I don't know who should. It wasn't John Stewart. Was it Greg Kinnear? The guy who got me the captain's suit. You think that is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Well, they said, you must have a lot of stuff like uniform. And I said, I have nothing. Nothing. I asked Paramount if I could buy my captain's uniform. I said, how much do you think it cost you to make this? I will pay you for it, and they wouldn't let me buy it. Well, they knew they could get much more for it. Paramount sold off a huge amount of Star Trek stuff by so the guy said, I couldn't believe it. The studio wouldn't even let you buy one. And I said, yeah. I went back and did the show a year later, and they said, we've got something for you. And it was somebody at NBC or CBS had called up Paramount and said, you guys are serious. And they gave me a suit. And I did actually wear it on television. I did a comic sketch I filmed at my home. And I suddenly had this idea that I would wear my Star Trek uniform and make no reference to it. I don't know if you know who the actor James Corden is. But he and I had a very public falling out about 18 months ago. Very public and very unpleasant. And we kissed and made up, and he then invited me to do a comedy sketch with him. And it was about the two of us in bed, and him saying, "You really hurt me, those things you said." and the funny was, he was in pajamas, and I was wearing it was quite funny. So, no, that's it. That's it. That's the only stuff that I have. But I do, oh no, except my scripts. And my assistant in Los Angeles has just finished. It's been like a 6-month project, collating every script with every different colored page for every rewrite, with every call sheet for every day's work, and it's in script 1, 2, 3, 4, season 1, season 2, season 3, and I'm trying to decide what to do with them. But on the bottom of those scripts, it says, on the bottom of every script, it says, property of Paramount Pictures. It's going to be interesting. Okay, that's it.
Any of you that looking to get autographs and photo ops,